Hello my lovely subscribers, Budget Guitarist here. I've not done a video for a couple of days now. Things have been a bit up and downy, and sometimes life gets a bit too loud. It messes with your ears. But what I want to talk about on this one is this. This is a Boss Katana solid state amp. It's the 50 watt and it's the Mark 1. Absolute budget find. I paid the guy £5 for this on the Facebook marketplace. If you're in America and you're watching in America, I know I've definitely got one subscriber, cheers Andy, that watches from America. It's probably about $5, maybe $6 for this. And I knew Boss made great effects pedals, but I wasn't too familiar. I didn't know that they made a range of amps called the Katana. It's quite an old one now because it's the Mark 1. There is a Mark 2. I'll explain the differences kind of between the both, the Mark 1 and the Mark 2, shortly. But what I also want to get into is this. I don't know if you can see that. So I modified this with a speaker out jack so I can run it through my line 6 4x12 cabinet. Normally on some of the videos this has just been up at the top because I'm really digging the Fender Champion at the minute, and but before I got the Champion I'd got the line 6 for I think I paid a guy £30 for it in America, about $30 for a line 6 cab, but I didn't have a head, but I had the Boss Katana. And yeah, I watched a video, some geezer did it, so I did the same to this. I'm going to show you, I'm going to explain some of the features, I'll show you the mod, and yeah, that's what we're going to do. When we get it up on the bench we can take a closer look. I do apologise for the shakiness, but I'm holding the camera because I just can't quite get the angle right on my thing. Anyway, so the Mark 1 Katana then, 50 watt. So it's a combination amp, so it emulates a couple of different sounding amp tones. It's got clean crunch lead and brown. I'm not too familiar with brown, but it's some just absolute insanity setting. The lead sounds really punchy, really bright. Crunch honestly sounds like a classic Marshall crunch tone, but my favourite on this amp is the clean. It just sounds absolutely phenomenal. What I found with this, I don't know if it's a Boss thing, I don't know if it's a 50 watt amp thing in general, but it certainly sounds a lot better if you crank the amp volume and then control with the master volume. That's just my preference. I don't know if it's a real thing. It's got a 3-band EQ and it's got some built-in effects. So we've got a booster and a modulation. So you see the 12 o'clock position there. So everything here from 6 to 12 is the booster, and then when you go past here it then goes to modulation. There's like I think there's a flanger, an auto wah, I forget what the other one is. I don't tend to use the modulation on this. I like the booster. Now the effects that are built in are built off Boss's effects pedals. So delay as well, it's a Boss delay, and there's also a tap tempo so you can set the delay, and then there's some effects. Again, I don't know entirely what effects there are. I think there's 3 or 4 as you roll through. In fact, no, I'm talking absolute dribble. There's 3. So there's 3 modulations, there's 3 effects, and there's 3 styles of reverb. You cycle through the 3 by hitting the button. So it's got 3 different types of boosters. You go past 12 o'clock, it's got 3 different types of modulation, and it's the same for each one. With these here, you can sort of dial something in you like your sound of. You just when you press panel, that's you just controlling how you want it. But if you like a tone, you've dialed something in, then all you've got to do is just press and hold one of these buttons and it will flash, and it'll let you know that it's stored the setup. So when you just turn the amp on, you want that tone you've dialed in straight away, you just press the button and you can store 2 on this amp. and it's got a power control here, which I do like, so you don't have to run it at 50 watts. When I play this in the garage, it's just at half a watt, and it's more than loud enough for inside your house, in your bedroom, garage, whatever. And a standby mod. The only significant difference between the Mark 1 and the Mark 2, so you can see here where we've got the amp types. So on the Mark 2 versions of the 50 and the 100 watt amp is, you've got a button here. So then each I think each amp type, you've got a button, and there's 3, so there's 3 cleans, there's 3 crunches, there's 3 leads, 3 browns. You know, it gives you more sort of built-in amp types. Everything else is pretty much the same, except until you get down here. So on the Mark 2, it's like a split switch. So it's difficult to explain how that looks, but it's like a knob here, but there's a knob in the center at the bottom. So one of the knobs controls the modulation, and one of the knobs does the booster. So you don't have to you've not got the one knob, you've got a knob for each one. That makes sense. And in terms of how many effects, there may be more, but I don't know if it's still stuck at 3. And everything else is pretty much still the same. I think on the 100 watt there's more channels, and of course you can buy the pedal that controls the effects on and off and in your different channels, but that tends to be sold separately. And certainly if you're buying one of these second hand, like I always do when I buy music gear, you don't often get the foot switch, but for me it's not an issue. So onto the actual modification I made. So I put an output for speaker out, so I could run this through my line 6. Now to do this, all you need is a screwdriver. You can either do it with a soldering iron or some little crampon bullet connectors or something very similar. So if that's the case, then it would be a screwdriver and a pair of pliers to crimp the ends. The actual amp part of the thing is held in place by four screws, 2 here, 2 here. Before you take this off, you need to disconnect the speaker, but pay attention as to which wire went to which, because sometimes the wires are the same. Almost forgot to mention, you're going to need a drill as well to drill a hole in the back of the metal panel. There's 2 screws on top as well, here and here, that I completely forgot about. I just tugged the screws out, then I was yanking on it, I was like, you know, why is that not coming off? There's another 2 screws on the top, so 6 in total. Okay, that's it off. As you can see, there's not a lot to it. The bulk of the amp is the wooden little cabinet and the big massive speaker, but you're going to need a few bits of hardware to do this. The first one being, arguably the most important bit, is it's called a switchable jack. Switchable jack input. Now how this works is, once it's all connected up, the power from the amp goes through this into the speaker. So when you plug in your speaker cable to run to your cab, maybe you can sort of see what's happening there. You can see those 2 little bits, they come up, so it breaks that circuit, so it no longer sends power to the speaker in the amp. It's now sending the power through the cable, which you want to go plugged into the back of your cabinet. I'll put a link, I'll pop a link in the description or the comments or whatever, where I got this from. This was about 50p. You're also going to need some speaker wire. Yeah, speaker wire. You can get speaker wire anywhere. On this one, I went for the little sort of bullet connectors. Okay, so what you want to do then is you need to drill a hole here. You need to make sure the hole that you drill is big enough to push your jack thing through. Doesn't matter if you sort of hash it and make it a little bit too big, because there's a little washer with it, and if it's, yeah, as long as you don't drill your hole bigger than the actual face of this, it's not an issue really. And yeah, obviously try and make it as tidy as you can. What you need to make sure though is when you're drilling through, you identify an area where it's not going to get, you're not going to hit any of the circuit board or anything like that. This is why you need to take the back off so you can see and mark it. And there you go. So you drill your hole. You can see now, so I use bullet connectors. I'll keep this the right way up, so if this is something you're thinking of doing, then use this as how you sort of wire it up. So the black and the red wire is the power that was going from the amp to the amp speaker in the bottom, and the red one's there and the black one's there. These two additional ones now is the speaker wire I fitted. You can see one of them's red, one of them's clear, so I knew which one was which, and I just used the spade connectors and clamped them on. And then coming up the other side is the through the little hole there in the bottom is the other end of the speaker wire. These two connect to the speaker in the amp, and that's how it's wired up. So you need this switch, this switchable input. You need a screwdriver, a drill, some speaker wire, and you can either solder it or you can use those spade connectors. I can't solder, I'm really rubbish at it, so I opted for the spade connectors. Plus the actual connection to the speaker is spade connectors. So, and if you get them, because you can get really small spade connectors that just fit on there. And if you don't like the modification you've made, all you need to do is just pull the spade connectors off and push the original speaker wire through and connect the original wire into the speaker, and that's it, all completely undone, obviously minus the hole you put in the back. Right guys, that's the modification. Quite simple stuff. You don't need a great deal of skill to pull that off. Once I've got round to putting that back together, I will run it through the line 6 and I'll give you an idea of how it sounds. Spoiler alert, it's pretty loud. Thank you very much for watching.